proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and glad to see that the Facebook live stream came up like it was supposed to this time.
Yay! Yay!
Yeah, last show we had a little bit of a blip in technology. Nothing on the radio station end, just Facebook happened to change something on me, and I wasn't aware till I wasn't online. So, but we're here in the WYSL studio with Bob Savage, of course.
Hello, and welcome to Monday All.
Yep, Monday, and it started out looking like a beautiful day, then it rained. I'm not really sure what's going to happen out there.
Well, they said the temperatures, we got a cold front. It's kind of like a mild cold front moving through. So we got this kind of a chilly breeze, actually.
Yeah.
And the temperature has dipped about 10 degrees from where it was this morning, and it looks like it could shower at any time. So, yeah, one of those unsettled May days.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get plenty more of those as the day goes on. So here we are. We're here at Radio Free New York, and I want to thank Barbara for becoming a grassroots supporter on our Patreon page.
Excellent.
So, Barbara, thank you so much for that. For those of you who don't know why I'm talking about, we are trying to grow Radio Free New York. You guys are asking for it. I'm trying to make it happen. So if you could help support the show so we can make that possible, you can go to patreon.com.
How do you spell that?
Yep, it's patreon.com/RFNY, stands for Radio Free New York. Go there, become a supporter. A bunch of you guys have been getting on there, helping us build up those funds to expand the show. Thank you guys so much. That's what's going to help us launch the show into hopefully more days a week, which would be awesome. You guys keep asking me to come out here and do more. I'd love to do it. I just need your help to get there. So, Barbara, thank you. And of course, thank you to everybody else who has contributed as well. We're getting there. So I wanted to talk a little bit today, maybe a little bit of Libertarian Party insider baseball. Might not be exactly what we always talk about, but this issue definitely expands past the Libertarian Party. It could be an issue for other parties as well, and I think it's important to give voice to this issue. So for those who might not be familiar with what happened last year, technically a new party was created in New York State. That was the Libertarian Party. And two parties were essentially eliminated in New York State. That's the Reform Party and the Women's Equality Party. So what creates a party and what eliminates a party is getting 50,000 votes on a gubernatorial election. So for those of you who you get your ballot and you notice there's like the A line, which is Democrats, and then the B line, which is Republicans. And you go through and you see all these parties on these lines. When you vote for somebody on one of those lines, that party kind of gets credit for that vote as well. And people do analysis and look and see, okay, so these people, they consider themselves libertarian. They consider themselves Republicans. They consider themselves Democrats. And you'll actually see on your ballot, sometimes there will be a candidate who's endorsed by multiple parties. This is called fusion voting here in New York State. We're one of the few states that has it. Cuomo's talking about eliminating it. It may be gone, which will be interesting because I suspect if fusion voting goes away in New York State, I suspect we lose a few more parties. I suspect within the first year, Working Families Party totally goes away because they won't have an independent person to run for governor.
How does Cuomo get to decide?
So
Because he's
Cuomo,
king, or
theoretically, he doesn't get to decide. The legislature created a board, I think it was, or a commission to, kind of change some of the election law.
not that Cuomo has any influence over that commission.
Exactly. I actually think that the legislature gave him the authority to appoint the people on the board.
Well,
if I recall, don't take that as 100% true. You might want to fact check that. But I believe that that's what happened. So when people say
he's
Cuomo's going to change it, that's what they're referring to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of my gut feeling here. Working Families Party by next gubernatorial election, totally eliminated. Conservative Party probably as well,
wow,
to be honest. And there's a lot of nervousness about this within, obviously, the Conservative Party and also within the Republican Party, because usually they go hand in hand. And the only way that the Conservative Party would stay in existence is by running a candidate against the Republicans. So that's what would have to happen for that party to stay around. So that's my prediction. First, by the next gubernatorial election, those two parties probably disappear unless something heroic happens. It totally could. That's just my gut feeling. And then I think Independence Party makes it 1 year. Or one cycle. The reason I say that is a lot of people who are registered to the Independence Party actually think they registered independent and not actually to a party. So people continue to vote on that line, I think, for one more cycle. And then I think they'll kind of realize what's going on as the media picks it up more. And
so one more nail potentially in the coffin of the Republican Party in New York State.
Yeah, I think so. So what I believe that we'd see in New York State in the next technically 11 years. In the next 11 years, 8 years, in 7 to 8 years, I think we'll see 4 parties stay in existence: the Democrats, the Republicans, the Green Party, and the Libertarian Party. And maybe some other party pops up along the way. I don't know. That's assuming that fusion voting gets totally eliminated. So I give you guys all of that really, really lengthy background to tell you guys about voter registration forms. So what's happening right now is Board of Elections, DMV, and libraries have been giving out old and valid voter registration forms that have the parties on there that are no longer in existence and do not have the Libertarian Party on there. Now, this doesn't sound like a big deal, except people who are going to register to vote are starting to become kind of confused about the forms. And they've reached out and said, hey, yeah, I went to register Libertarian and it was on my friend's form, but it's not on my form. Does that mean I can't register Libertarian in my county, in my town, in my city? So what Board of Elections has said, and there's actually Spectrum did a TV interview about this with Carrie Bittner in Ontario County. And essentially Board of Elections kind of said, oh no, we've already fixed it, but people keep coming and saying it hasn't been fixed. Now, here's the thing. They're saying, well, if you got one of these older forms, you could check other and you could write in Libertarian. Except for years, the practice has been when somebody checks other and writes in a party name, you don't get registered to that party. You get registered as other. And it kind of depends county by county. So if you register as Libertarian, say, and I'll just pick on Ontario County. I don't know if they have this practice or not. And you write in Libertarian, you get registered on your voter registration. You look up the party you're registered to. It just says other. It doesn't say Libertarian Party.
So what's the effect of that at the polls?
So at the polls, probably not. There probably isn't an effect at the polls, because as long as you're registered to vote, you can still vote. The problem becomes, and not this year, but starting next year, if you go to participate in a primary, you won't be able to. Because you're not registered
for a party.
Yeah.
Isn't that a nice little trick?
That's very interesting.
And meanwhile, you're thinking, oh, I filled out the form. I'm registered.
Yep. And you won't know until it's too late.
Oh, my gosh.
And New York State has that cool little law that if you don't change your voter registration by, I think it's December 1st of the previous year, you can't switch your party that year.
So you're stuck with other, which is basically you're a person without a party, so you can't vote.
Yep, for a whole other year, basically.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And you think that they don't know that?
Oh, no, they totally do. And here's the thing, and this is what Carrie brought up, which is a great say voter registration forms were put on the DMV website and Board of Election offices that were missing Democrat or missing Republican.
Like that would ever happen.
They would lose their minds, right? They'd quickly go recover all the forms.
This is to disenfranchise people and to further ensconce, the one-party system in New York. This is an outrage.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. I wanted to share this with you guys because I thought that this is something that it doesn't come up very often, this whole creating a new party and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, just imagine if you went to fill out your voter registration form and Democrat was missing on the form and that went to the news. It would be everywhere. The governor would be calling out, a recall of all the forms. Board of Elections would have this big statement. But here they are. They're doing it here, and they're just kind of sweeping it under the rug. Oh, no big deal. We'll figure it out someday.
Okay, now let me understand this. Are there still voter registration forms out there that require you, if you want to be libertarian, you want to register as a libertarian, where there's no option for you to do that and you have to check other?
That's my understanding, yes. And we actually had somebody yesterday who reached out and said, hey, I've got one right here,
Do we know what county that was?
I don't. Carrie would probably know. But what I do know is that Board of Elections has given a statement saying they've fixed the problem. It'll be interesting to see if they actually have. So, guys, we're going to take a real quick break here on Radio Free New York. Back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYL stations.
All right, guys, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I am searching through the comments on social media right now, and I see there's a whole bunch of you in here, and there's a whole bunch of comments, which is a great thing. So I love hearing from you guys. So welcome to the show, Carrie, Barbara, Michelle, Todd, Lisa Ann, Joel, Dan, the other Dan, Jay, Christy, and let's see, I think I've got everybody. So a couple people, commenting about this voter registration thing. Carrie's actually in here, which she actually mentioned that you can find the old voter registration form still on some of the county Board of Election websites. As of, she
the
said,
one that says other.
Yep. So she said they're still findable in a Google search as of Sunday night a week ago. So it's possible it could have been changed by now. But that's actually really important. Bob and I were talking about this during the break, is that there's a statewide Board of Elections, and then each county has their own Board of Elections. So some of the counties have been on top of it, and they do have the accurate forms. But then other counties have been totally not on top of it at all, haven't swapped out their forms, and it's really a county by county basis that you're running into this issue.
So the way that you tell is you look at your voter registration form and you look for an option. It's a box, I guess, that you would check.
It's a checkbox.
A checkbox for Libertarian Party.
Yep.
That way, you got the new form, folks.
Absolutely.
So follow us on this. And if it's like, so what would it say otherwise? Republican, Democrat,
Reform Party would be on there, and Women's Equality Party would be on there if it's an old form.
But no Libertarian Party.
No Libertarian Party.
And then a box for other.
Yep. Yeah. And you'd see Conservative Party and Green Party should be on there as well.
Right.
Yep.
But those will all be eliminated in the new version.
So in the new version, you would not have Reform and you would not have Women's Equality Party, but you would have Libertarian Party, because the Reform Party and the Women's Equality Party did not get enough votes to maintain status.
So will the Conservative and the other lesser parties?
They received enough votes, so they're on for another 4 years.
But eventually they're going to go away.
If Cuomo gets rid of fusion voting, I think so. Yeah, and that's not sure thing. The Conservative Party could choose to run a gubernatorial candidate against a Republican gubernatorial candidate, and as long as they get 50,000 votes, they keep their ballot line. I just think that voters would be confused and unsure. What does the conservative candidate stand for? What does the Republican candidate stand for? Why are they running against each other? Who do I vote for? I think it'll confuse a lot of voters. They won't really be able to differentiate the principles between the two parties.
And a very useful byproduct of all this confusion is that the Republican vote is potentially more fragmented. And
yes,
so there's slim chances of winning statewide office get reduced still further.
Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to see. I've heard the rumors cycling through Board of Elections that this is going to happen, but it's just a rumor at this point. We'll see if Cuomo actually makes it happen. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know what the likelihood is conservatives could get 50,000 votes. I think that's a tall order.
Yeah, I think that they obviously did this last time around, right?
Because they're aligned with the Republicans.
Exactly. So once it's split like that, Conservative Party got, I think, 20,000 votes just in Monroe County alone last year. So they could theoretically still do it.
But it's going to come at the expense of the Republicans.
Exactly. Yeah. So before, a vote on the conservative line was still technically for the Republican candidate. If this change is made, it won't be. And people will talk about, what about splitting the vote? And I think that there's a possibility that Conservative Party goes under. So it's a possibility. I know that probably makes people upset, people concerned. I totally get it. That's just the reality of how I'm looking at the situation. I think that's what's probably going to happen. So talking about elections and stuff, I hope that everybody listening to the show is looking at local elections right now. There was a big change this year with people getting on the ballot and how that happens in New York State specifically. And for those of you who are listening from other states, in New York, we do our balloting very different than other states. We collect petitions to get on the ballot. In other states, you pay a fee and you get on the ballot. So they make fun of us all the time. But I don't really mind the petitioning. I think it's important because you're getting out there, you're interacting with voters. It's kind of like a pre-campaign type thing. I don't dislike it as much as, some people really don't like it. I don't mind it at all. It is a lot of hard work, though. Normally, petitioning would be like in the warmer months, like June, for example. It's changed to align petitioning with the federal offices. So they were out petitioning, I think it was early March, I think is when petitioning was. So it was like snowing when people were going door to doors, which if I was doing that, I don't think I'd enjoy it as much. But I say all that to say the candidates that you're going to vote for in this November are already on the ballot for the most part, unless if they have a primary, then they're at least on the ballot for a primary. If they have no primary, they're already on the ballot for November, unless there's a court challenge to pull them off. And this is on you guys as constituents to be checking out and seeing who's up for election? Who's up for election in your town, your village, your county? I know for me, I'm going to have city council candidates. There's going to be a district attorney race. There is a county exec race, a county legislature race. I think that's it. Off the top of my head, because I think Senate is going to be next year. So I've got some races to look at. And I've met with people that say, Andrew, I don't really pay attention to any of that until about 2 weeks before the election. Then I do some Googling, I do my research, I figure it out, and then I figure out who I'm going to cast my vote for. And I want to try to push you away from that mentality. And the reason I want to do that is this is the time that your elected officials and the people running for office are most aware of your issues. They're most receptive and responsive to you. So this is the time, this period of time where they're leading up to their election, where if you wanted to see change, this is really when you want to talk to them and you want them to know what that change is you want to see. Because I'll tell you what, 3 months after they've been elected, they're focusing
they're
on
gone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're either gone, they're not listening at all.
That's what I mean. I mean, practically speaking, you're dead to them.
Yeah. Or if they are a good elected representative, they're going to focus on the stuff that got them elected over the last 9 months. So if you're not a part of that and you just make your decision 2 weeks before election day or the weekend before election day, you've really missed out on the opportunity to talk with these elected officials or the people running against them and say, hey, this issue is really important to me. And if you want to earn my vote, I need to see you for the next 6 months developing policy and pushing and promising that you're going to make this change. And here's what happens. One person does it. Now, guess what? Their opponents have to do it too. So this is actually a really vital time for everybody. And this doesn't matter if you're in New York or if you're in another state. This is the time where those people who are fighting to get elected are going to be most receptive, most responsive, and most willing to work with you to develop a policy that you think is going to be good for you. So if you're in New York, you can actually go to the Board of Election website and you can put in, it's like your first name, your last name, your house number, your street, and I think your date of birth. And it'll pull up your Board of Election information. You'll be able to see what party you're registered to, plug for Carrie, registered libertarian. Carrie has a goal to get 100,000 registered libertarians by the end of the year. So helping her out with that as much as I possibly can. If you log in and you see you're not registered libertarian and you feel like you should be, I think you probably should be. That's your opportunity to check it out and re-register. But at the same time, you can actually see every single representative that you have, how to contact them, and who's going to be up for election this year. So start going to their websites. If somebody's running a campaign, chances are really good they've got a campaign website, maybe a campaign Facebook page, and really start looking through and see if anybody actually addresses issues that are important to you. Maybe the way they want to fix an issue that's important to you, you totally disagree with, but they have what's called a town hall or a breakfast or something like that you can attend and ask them some questions, and write your questions in advance too, and make sure they're really, really specific questions. And don't really go for the softball questions. I think sometimes people are afraid to ask the hard questions. And the thing is, this is the time to ask those hard questions so you know before they get in office what the answer is. It's kind of like if you were interviewing people for a job and you didn't ask them about the specific skills associated with the job, then you find out after they're hired, they don't have the skill set to perform the job. That's on you. The difference is here with your elected officials, you're stuck with them for 4 years, so you got to know. So we're going to take a quick break here on Radio Free New York, and we'll be back in a moment.
Hey, real quick, run down the platforms that the program's available on.
Oh, yeah. So we're live right now on Facebook. We're on Twitter and Periscope, YouTube, and of course, we're here on WYSL.
WYSL1040.com, and just click on the Listen Live button. We'll be back on Radio Free New York.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
We'll treat you like family at Mark's Pizzeria. We'll treat you like family at Mark's Pizzeria. Great pizza, fresh and good. Simply the best in your neighborhood. Come in, we'll get to know you. We'll call you by name. We can bring it to you any time of the day. Mark's Pizzeria. We'll treat you like family. Mark's Pizzeria.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL. AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, guys, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. And we're talking about local elections. They're happening this year, and I want to leave you guys with just a little bit more on these local elections. This could be said for statewide too, but we won't have statewide for about 3 years now. And that is that in New York, we are getting exactly what we deserve in terms of elections. And I say that because people aren't coming out to vote. They're not engaging with government. They're not actually giving real feedback to elected officials. They complain online a lot, but each office has a constituents relations person or even department, depending on what level of government it is. And people aren't talking to those people. So you can complain on Facebook or on Twitter, and chances are good that elected official won't even see that comment. They definitely won't if you don't tag them or do it on their page. But if you do tag them or if you do it on their page, chances are good that's just going to some intern who's managing their social media. It never actually reaches the elected official. So if you want to actually see change, the first thing is maybe you should consider running for office. If you're not happy, it's really easy to kind of complain and say, oh, people should do this or that. Maybe it's time for you to step up and consider running. And if not, maybe join somebody's campaign who you do support, who you do think would do a good job. Become a volunteer, donate some money, maybe gather a bunch of volunteers, have a neighborhood party on your block and invite that candidate to talk to people if you think that they're going to run local government the way that you think is correct, the way that you think is right. Because what I see is a lot of people who are really, really upset with government and a lot of loud voices. But then I don't see candidates who could do a really good job get the support they need to win. So it really is a community effort. You know, these people aren't Superman. They can't just go out there and win an election without your support or help.
So let me ask you this. Are you saying that, you know, the time-honored writing a letter to your congressman, writing a letter to your assemblyman, your state senator, your U.S. senator, that's just kind of like an exercise in making yourself feel good?
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that's a great idea and you should do it.
Okay,
I'm saying shouting on Facebook like I don't like so-and-so, they might not even ever see that comment.
Right, okay.
No, I'm saying pick up the phone, call Senator so-and-so's office and say, hey, I'm really upset about this bill proposed, and if you want my vote, you better not vote for it. Or I saw this is being proposed, and I think that's great and amazing. Please support it, and who else can I call to get support for this? Or, hey, I kind of like this, but could you suggest this amendment to this bill? Then I actually would support it. When I talk to elected officials, you know what they say 99% of the time?
What's that?
They say, oh, I had no idea. If I bring something up, say it's firearms related, maybe it's tax related, regulation related. If I go and I talk with somebody, they say, you know, nobody ever reaches out to us and gives us feedback on this. They say, could you get more people to mention this to us? Because we wouldn't have known. And what I'm finding is a lot of elected officials, when they're writing legislation, they don't have background on what they're writing. And if somebody else proposes it, they have no idea. So they just rely on the committee, which maybe the committee has good information. Sometimes, maybe even a lot of times it doesn't.
Well, frequently with the Second Amendment stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're really poorly informed.
And if your legislator is sitting there with this legislation on their desk and they read it, it's worded in a way that sounds pretty reasonable. Nobody's calling their office and writing them letters saying, hey, this is the worst thing ever. And they go, well, I guess I'm going to vote for this. It sounds reasonable. Nobody's opposing it. And boom, there you go. You've got bad legislation. So what we need to do is we need to engage in government.
So what's the best format? How do you feel about writing a good old-fashioned letter on paper that you mail?
I like that idea. I don't know what's most effective. Maybe I'll get an elected official here on the show who could tell us. I think that phone calls are very effective.
Okay.
And the reason I think phone calls are very effective is anytime I call an office, they ask me for a few bits of information to basically verify that I'm a voter. So they'll ask, I think, my address and my name is what it is. I think zip code, if I recall, and I know what they're doing in the back end. They're actually looking up to see if I'm a registered voter. Because guess what? If you're not registered to vote and you're calling and you're complaining,
they're not interested.
They don't care. What they're doing is they're looking up your voter registration file, and many of you may not know this. They can see every time you voted for going back I want to say like 10 elections. So what they identify is if what you're called a prime voter or not. And if you're a prime voter, that means you voted the last 4 years in a row, and usually primaries as well. So if they see that you voted 4 years in a row and you're engaging in primaries, they know that you're going to vote. And you're essentially, your request is getting bumped up into a better pile, essentially. If they look at it and go, oh, you've been registered to vote since the 60s and the last time you voted was 10 years ago,
not so much.
They're still going to take your request down. But I suspect they've got their pile of like premium quality voter requests and their questionable quality voter requests. So it's really important for you to be actively voting, right? Even if you show up to the poll and there's nobody you like there, write somebody in. You could leave all those circles blank, write somebody in for an office so it records that, hey, you showed up, you're paying attention to the issues. And then you call your elected official's office and you explain, always have the bill number too, because they'll write down specifically what bill, and they'll say, okay, are you for or against this? They don't necessarily always want to know why. In fact, most of the times they don't, because the phones are ringing, and somebody else is calling them to tell the same thing. So they're like, oh, Bill S, 1204, for or against? And you say, I'm against. They go, okay, great. Have a nice day. So you should be doing this every chance you get. And then you can try to set up an appointment where you can meet with this elected official. Obviously, local is way easier. If not, pop over to their office, go to a town hall, something, and really engage them on the issues and talk them through it and talk them through why you feel the way you do, so that when they approach this legislation, it's not, oh, some angry person just told me they don't like it. It's, oh, these are the implications of this. Like, this is why this is important. This is why I should vote for this, or this is why I should vote against this. Or maybe even better, which I find often is there's usually some legislation that isn't so bad. Maybe they've got the right intent in mind, but they've done it totally wrong because they want to use government funds to cover something that could really have been done in another way. And so you say, hey, I don't mind the fact that we want childcare for single mothers so they can have a job and get off welfare. In fact, I think that's great. But there's these charities around who want to do this, and your red tape is getting in the way. Why don't, instead of allocating, $2 million of government money for this, why don't we eliminate the red tape for these charities, let them take that tax burden off the taxpayers, and we achieve the same thing? And the elected official goes, wow, that sounds like my constituents would like that. Maybe I'll propose that. And maybe it still doesn't pass, but then it's been proposed. It's on the record. Maybe even the news picks it up. And the idea of not spending taxpayer dollars and using an alternative for government services hits the news, and people start talking about it. That's what this is all about, guys. So that's my pitch. Get involved in your local elections, guys.
Yeah, if you're going to call an elected official, make sure you're informed.
Yes.
That you know what you're talking about when you call them.
Yeah.
Do a little homework, dig into it, and so if they ask you a couple of questions, you don't go, I don't know. Sure. I just thought it's a bad idea. Yeah, in which case, you got to protect your credibility.
Yeah, or call them and ask the questions to them. Say, hey, this sounds like a bad idea. Could you explain to me why you think it's not? And maybe the reason sounds good to you. Maybe they have some information that that you didn't have. There is a lot of that. I will say what I found that is frustrating to me, and I say this, but I don't necessarily have a good alternative to it. So, just know that I'm not proposing a fix for it. I'm just complaining about a problem, I guess, is that when government takes action, before they take action, usually proposal goes to committee, and then they hire some firm to do a study to see what the impact is going to be. Government spends way too much money on studies, but B, the ability to get an independent firm that's not going to sway things one way or another is, in my opinion, very tricky, very difficult, and usually not to the benefit of the taxpayer.
And sometimes the candidates don't want a firm that's going to give them unbiased information. Yep. Sometimes it's a case of, draw the curve and plot the data. Exactly.
So I don't have an answer for this problem, because I think in some situations it's important. You need to know the impact of whatever it is you're going to do. So you have to have somebody figure out what that impact is. And I certainly don't trust government to do it. But then at the same point, I believe that government should be small. Its purpose is to protect the people. So what is the government doing hiring firms for things outside of that anyways? So that's my take on it. And we'll see if you guys feel the same way. We're going to go to break here, and we'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. The people really make this place incredible. I feel at home. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. The owner of the business is actively involved. He is a veteran. We have a very close relationship with all of the staff. Every employee there is known by name, and we really, really work hard on giving that home feel, or the family feel. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row.
Last spot.
Have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, we're back here on Radio Free New York. I am looking through the comments. There's a whole bunch of comments in here. I'm going to highlight a few, but before I do, welcome to the show, Aniko, Yolana, Aaron, and Sean. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here. And so Barbara actually commented here, which is really important. She says, I emailed Schumer and it led to changing the rules in the VA to help vets. It works. And then later she says, squeaky wheel gets the oil. And yeah, that's what we're talking about, guys, is, actually engaging with elected officials. This is prime time to do it since there's going to be elections this year. Reaching out, letting them know what's important to you, to have them craft what they're going to run on this year, what they are running on this year to get elected. because once they're elected, they're going to work on the stuff that they were talking about during their campaign. And if it's not your issue, that's probably not going to be a priority for them. So engage with them, talk with them, be in discussion with them. Make it a point to once a week reach out to an elected official. I know that seems a little excessive, but you'll find out you've got a lot of elected officials in New York State. So if you do that, you reach out to them once a week between now and Election Day, you're probably going to start seeing some changes that you want to see. And just remember, if you're not reaching out to those elected officials, the people who oppose your ideals,
somebody else is.
Somebody else is, and it may not be what you agree with. So you got to make sure that you're there. Now, speaking of local elected officials and government and trying to make government smaller, I found this really cool article that I wanted to share with you guys about Chobani yogurt. And what they're doing is really like a pretty cool libertarian idea. The idea, of course, came about because of bad government that has overspent and all of that. But really, it gave me an idea for something. So some of you may or may not know that there is a lot of like school lunch programs where you can get school lunch at a reduced cost or at no cost at all. I believe there's some federal funds mixed into that. There's some state programs, this whole thing. But what it comes down to is, and this is in Rhode Island, so this isn't in New York, they were actually negative $77,000 in their student lunch program. So either by poor budgeting, or something else, I'm not really sure what, they didn't have the money to feed the kids is what it comes down to. So Chobani Yogurt said, well, you know what? We think we can help. We're going to donate some food, some yogurts, and we're going to give you the money, the $77,000 to cover the expense. Now, that is pretty cool, right? That's like, okay, so people say, oh, these big corporations, they're so greedy, they're so this and that. And here you've got an organization that's saying, yeah, we'll foot the bill on this. We want to make sure kids are getting fed.
Well, maybe they want an entree into always being on the menu at that school.
Exactly, right? So this is what I'm going to get to here. In addition to Chobani stepping in, a few local restaurants kicked in and said, hey, we'll provide some food, we'll provide some money. And they actually started a GoFundMe and raised $49,000.
For what purpose?
So I think to fix this budget gap. So I think these things were happening simultaneously.
Are we going to get to the bottom of why the budget gap exists? So that we don't repeat the problem?
Yeah, so that doesn't seem to be clear. I'm sure that that the elected officials know why. And it's interesting because the school board, it sounds like, or the school department, they actually were turning away the money from these restaurants saying, we're not in the position to single out or identify which specific students should be selected for this money and which one shouldn't. And just like weird bureaucratic responses that is
right. Somebody needs to do an investigation. Something's up there.
Yeah, something doesn't seem right. But what this did make me think of is, Larry Sharp and I last year, we talked a lot about ideas that would take government services that were running too expensive and extremely inefficiently and trying to find local private ways to take away these government services and replace them with better, more cost-effective services that hopefully wouldn't cost the taxpayer anything, to reduce the tax burden. That's something we really, really need here in New York State. Now, I didn't run any numbers as to what student lunches cost in New York State. I'm sure in the city, it's a huge amount of money. But what I do know is that in New York State, we have over 700 school districts. So I bet you it costs a lot of money, because this was just one school, I think, or one district. Let me just check. This is in Rhode Island, Warwick, Rhode Island. It does not specifically say. I believe it was a school district, but that 77,000, I don't know if that's like 5% of their budget or 10% or 20%. You know, I have no idea. So I don't have any relative numbers to compare it to. But here's why I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we allow restaurants, maybe food service places, to have the opportunity to provide food or funding for student lunches that we would be paying for in our school taxes. And in return, they get to say, your lunch provided by Chobani.
Why, this is a libertarian sounding kind of thing to do.
Yeah, doesn't this sound kind of like small government, less taxes, you know? So here's the thing. People would say, oh, a company would never do that. Hey, Chobani's already doing it. So, you know, would they do all 700 districts? Probably not, but I bet you in New York City, there's some people that want to compete for that. I bet you Wegmans would compete for some districts or some schools, especially if Aldi's got involved and Aldi's wanted to do, you know, if Aldi said, hey, we want to do Brighton school districts, all of a sudden Wegmans is going to jump in for, I don't know, Pittsford schools or something like that. And it looks like at the very least, we can save about $77,000 worth of taxpayer money. I think that we're going to be able to save much more if we pursued a program like this. So once again, the idea is very, very simple, very basic. Allow food companies to provide the food. If there's a food service company or a catering company, allow them to provide the service of assembling the lunches. And here's the thing. Somebody's going to say, oh, but school lunches have to be very specific. It's got to be, you know, this health code this and this health code that. These are already food creators and providers. They're already following FDA. They're following, you know, all the rules anyways. I think that this could absolutely be a way to open up, take a government service that's running inefficiently, very expensively, open it up to the private sector to allow them to provide the service at no cost to the taxpayer, and at the same time probably give much better quality to the students. So it's an idea, guys. I would say I think it could work, but clearly it can work because Chobani's already done it. And this really kind of ties into, you know, a lot of people, not a lot of people, sometimes people say, oh, you'll never get a big corporation to do X or to do Y. And I would just say to those people, when it comes to positive community image and advertising, you better believe somebody's going to look at that and go, that's a really great marketing thing. This is going to boost our whatever's important to them, and they'll jump on board. And I'll give you guys a great example. Remember Domino's? They were filling potholes, and then the city tried to like sue them for filling potholes.
Oh yeah, they don't want competition.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. The roads are so bad that Domino's, which does pizza delivery, and look, we're talking about them right now. It's working, right? They're basically getting free advertising because we're talking about it.
Memo to government: you're never going to win this argument.
No,
I mean, if Domino's wants to come in and pave the roads and they do a better job,
yeah,
or even if they do a creditable job,
say, if they could do a crappy job, it's still going to be better than what we have now. You know, Domino's comes in and they fill your potholes, and they
understand too that the bad condition of the roads right now is the key. See, the government is trying to get everybody all riled up so that we all go, the roads are awful. And then they can say, well, fine, you know, we need more money.
More taxes. Yep. So when a private entity like Domino's comes in and says, yeah, we see a problem here. These roads are terrible. They have their spin. You know, our drivers need to be able to get the pizza to you, you know. And what do? They start filling potholes. The media shows up. People like me start talking about them. And they go, oh, do we really need government to do this? Because Domino's, they make pizzas and they figured it out.
Yeah, I love the people who make the argument about, well, we don't have companies, you know, doing this service or that service, because then you're going to have a monopoly. Mm-hmm. What do you think government is?
Yeah, government.
It's the ultimate monopoly.
Monopoly, absolutely. So yeah, so I saw that and I was like, this is brilliant. I don't know how far they intend to take this, but I see an opportunity here. I see an opportunity for some districts. I'm sure you couldn't get everybody to do this, but I bet you there are areas in New York State and there are organizations in New York State that would gladly supply either the funding or the food for student lunches and help reduce the tax burden. And anybody who thinks that could never happen, Chipotle's already doing it. So guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York. I will catch you on the next episode. Have a great day.